Hello and welcome to Opening Gates to More Listings for Estate Agents with me, Simon Gates. I'm delighted to be joined today by Mr. Tom Panos. Tom, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you for having me, Simon, and in person. Means a lot.
Do you know, when I started on this journey of transitioning from estate agency into like the training space half a dozen years ago, I'd written down things I wanted to achieve, and one of the things was to get you on the podcast, which we did last year. You're at the top of the list, mate, and to now be sat here in person doing it is unbelievable. You've been my university on wheels for a dozen years, listening to $1 Million Agents. So to do it in person and to spend last couple of weeks with you across Ireland, Birmingham, now London, it's been an absolute pleasure. So no, thank you for being
Listen, it's a pleasure working with you, and you gave me a very important gift. It was not an expensive gift in terms of price. It was a beautiful book, The Five Wealth Areas by, I think the author's called Sahale. And I get books all the time, and I listen to audio books, but that one was a special book. But it's a pleasure working with you. You're easy to work with. You've got great content, and you've got an influence and an audience that love to hear the stuff that you've got, and hopefully we've got some good information today.
We'll do our best. Hopefully we've not run out of it over the past couple of weeks. So, like I said, you've been across Ireland, you've been Birmingham, London, the UK. You've brought a bit of good weather over from Australia as well, so thank you for that.
Today's a cracker of a day.
It is, and we're stuck inside here recording this, but
Correct.
Maybe we'll have a drink later. So what kind of have you observed of real estate agents across the UK and Ireland and the market at the moment from the last couple of weeks and all these different agents you've met?
Look, real estate agents all over the world have got a lot of common ingredients that you see. They're normally people that have got decent people skills. They're normally hungry. They get driven to work that is commission-based, so they're the kind that have got a bit of entrepreneurship. The one thing that I have noticed, probably both in Ireland and in the UK, is that the mindset, Simon, is more that of an employee than an employer. And that can be really confusing, because it's very easy for an estate agent to actually think, oh no, I actually work for that firm. I think it's important that you understand that if you're in the commission-based business, if you make a living that is highly dependent on how much property you sell and how much commissions you get, you are in fact working for yourself. And I sometimes think that some of the mindset I see with people is they think, oh no, I'm actually an estate agent working for a company. No, it's important that you know that if you're in real estate, you're working for yourself. You have income that's coming in, you have expenses, and that those expenses should either be looking at helping you make money, build your personal brand. That would probably be the biggest observation. The second observation is the list to sell ratio is different, right? The amount of property that gets listed versus sold is a lot lower than some of the other countries I do work with, specifically in Australia, where the list to sell ratio is more like 80 to 90%.
So on that second point, when I hear you, John and Troy, when you're doing the podcast and you talk about, what is it you call it? Would you say sell rate from auctions at the weekend?
The clearance rate.
Clearance rate, that's it, thank you, clearance rate. And yeah, hearing the numbers, you say, oh yeah, it was a good one, 80% clearance at weekend or something, like in the UK, 50, 55%.
So we believe a clearance rate in Australia of under 60% is a really bad result. We actually think that under 60%, you're moving into a buyer's mark territory, right?
Yeah.
We much prefer it to be sitting somewhere between 70 and 90%. And unfortunately, in the UK and in Ireland, it appears that number is lower. But of course, we must, Simon, you know that for all your listeners, we do have micro markets. You can't turn around and say, the market in Mayfair is the same market as it is in Doncaster. They all have their own unique issues.
So at this present moment in time, my observation is that we're in a higher interest rate environment compared to the COVID market. I think you said on stage maybe yesterday, in the early 90s and in a really tough market when you set up your business and there were 18% interest rates or whatever it was. In the slightly higher interest rate environments, the south of the country in London perform a lot worse. In very low interest rate environments, they perform really, really well. But it's right now, like I said to you when we were walking over here, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, north of the country, the house price earning ratios are a lot closer together. So they're actually outperforming your Londons at the moment.
Yeah, so that's the great thing about real estate markets. They stay the same, you at any one time, Simon, doesn't matter whether you're in Wales, Scotland, London, and in addition to that, if you are in London, you've got these micro markets. Markets fall into one of three: buyer's market, seller's market, or a balanced market, right?
Yeah.
Buyer's market is when there's a lot of stock on the market, which there is at the moment in lots of parts of the United Kingdom. A seller's market is what you had during COVID. They were getting incredible prices, but there's one market that real estate agents don't like, and that's a transition market. That's a market that's moving, but there's not enough evidence there that you can demonstrate to your seller, hey, listen, you're not going to get this price, because they keep saying, but that house sold for that. And what they're looking at is before it transitioned. And transition markets create a lot of hesitancy because people are unsure, But the good news is, Simon, transition markets now don't last for long because the mobile phone and digital news comes flying at your phone. Consumers are very educated. The media does an amazing job to educate consumers.
Yeah, very interesting. I just want to go back to the first point in terms of employee versus employer. So I found it really interesting what you'd said, because I've only ever had in my adult life, technically speaking, 2 employed jobs. And I treated my job as if it was a business within a business, like my own franchise.
Yeah.
And I think that's what made me successful in those jobs. And I can't remember the exact study or science behind it, but we've got a podcast in the UK, a huge podcast called High Performance Podcast.
Yes.
And done by Jake Humphrey and Professor.
It's a great podcast.
Professor Damien Hughes, who I've had on my podcast actually,
Wow,
which was unbelievable. And in one of their latest books, they talked about how adult people have a job, a career, or a calling. And for me, when a state agency, it's a calling. So if it's a job where it's 9 to 5, you take an hour's lunch, you take all your holiday, sick pay, whatever, it's just a job. There's some who, it's a career, they want to go up the ladder. But then for me, it's always been a calling. I'm this really weird person. I don't know if I said to you before, I grew up wanting to be an estate agent. No one in the UK wants to do that. My parents really tried to not get me to do it.
They want you to be a doctor or something.
Well, what's even funnier, right? I said to you when we were walking over here, estate agents, don't have the best reputation in this country. They got me to do work experience at the Royal Family's law firm and the Houses of Parliament. Now, I don't know how much you see about the royal family over in Australia in terms of what goes on there, but their law firm's probably going to be quite busy at most times. And in Houses of Parliament, again, we've had some quite shocking things that happened in recent years with COVID.
So maybe at the end of the day, they're happy that you became a real estate agent.
I think they're proud of me now. I'm interviewing you, so there we go.
Yeah. Nah, listen, by the way, that is right around the world. It's not just a UK thing. Real estate agents' reputation is towards the bottom. We know that. Part of it is out of our control, but part of it is within our control too.
So just to touch on a point there, because I do think, and I've been guilty of this over the years, and I guess we're in the UK, America, Australia, we're in this kind of, let's say, echo chamber, where if I'm listening to the likes of you, watching I've interviewed Matt Steinwade, Lisa Novak, people like Gavin, who you obviously coach.
Actually, all 3 are been clients of mine, long term.
And we look and go, oh my God, Australia is amazing. But then, like in any country, there's going to be great agents, there's going to be bad agents. I think in the UK, we can be guilty of being like, oh, it's all well and good for them saying that in Australia because they're all amazing out there. Like they haven't got cheap fees or shit agents or overvaluing. But like you say, it's the same all over the world. It doesn't matter what country you're in, you're going to get the bad and the good.
I've got to say, Simon, the UK market and the Australian market are the closest aligned markets, not in terms of economies, but in terms of the methods that agents use. We have the same issue, like fees going under 1% is a big issue in Australia. Vendors that wanting more for their homes than what they're worth. I mean, to give you an idea, right at the moment, in various parts of Sydney, the eastern suburbs of Sydney, Alex Phillips, who's a very good estate agent, said to me, I interviewed him at ARIC 2 weeks ago, and he said to me that 70% of his transactions since 2020 are being sold for lower than what they paid for. I mean, we have the same issues, right? The same issues. Real estate agents have to wake up every morning with a gun pointing at their head saying list or you won't eat, right? We have the same issues. We have vendors that think their home is worth 100,000 more than what it is. So they're very aligned marketplaces. So if you're a person in the UK thinking to yourself, hey, if I was in Australia, it would be different. The only thing that would be different is that you'd have 300 days of sunshine, right?
Yeah.
Everything else is the same. Right.
I don't know if I said to you before, my grandmother is Australian. She used to be an opera singer out there.
Wow.
Travelled to Europe singing, met my grandfather who was in the Navy, and they fell madly in love and moved to the UK. So I need to somehow tap her up to get myself over to Australia.
You need to get an Aussie passport.
Yeah, I do, don't I? Yeah. So I just want to run through some of the questions I've been asked. When I put out a post on social media yesterday saying, very fortunate to be interviewing you, I was inundated. So I've tried to choose some of the best ones, which we're
I'd love to
going to run through. So let's have a look at these. So let's start with this one with AI, because AI is, again, I don't know what it's like in Oz, but in UK, every conference at the moment is AI, like thinking like it's going to change their life without doing any work. So the question for you, first one is, what's the biggest mistake you're seeing estate agents make at the moment with AI?
Stopping talking to people and spending all their time on bleeding edge technology instead of cutting edge technology. I've seen this story happen many, many times. Something new happens in real estate. People think this new shiny object is going to change everything. And what happens is they drop what they're doing and focus on the shiny object. Now, let's be clear. This is a really shiny object.
Yeah.
Right? So I can't turn around and compare it to some of the other technologies that even came through during COVID, like virtual online auctions, right? This is a thing that can actually help an estate agent list and sell more real estate, gain more time, but you've got to be very careful that you don't become high-tech, low-touch. What you want to do is to be the estate agent that uses technology, in particular AI, to complement them, not to substitute them. And for me, that basically means is that you will still be making phone calls. You'll still be creating influence, because AI cannot actually say to the seller, please realign your price by 5%. AI can say, here is some information that we should be focused on. AI does the heavy lifting to source the information, but you still need to have the conversation and say, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, as you can see, this is what my buyers are reading at the moment. How open-minded would you be that we realign your price by 10%? AI doesn't do that. You do that. So I think it's estate agents grappling with, what do I stop doing and start doing with AI? And what do I actually keep on doing and don't get sidetracked and deceived by AI? And for me, there's only 3 or 4 things, Simon, that I have seen AI at the moment that I can really say it's going to help you make more money in a estate agency. There's only 3 or 4 things, and I can touch on those if you want.
Please do.
Right.
Yeah.
One of those is, before an estate agent goes and does a listing presentation or a market appraisal, whatever term you give it, that you get some psychometric testing done through various AI platforms like Humantic, Crystal or Claude, that allows you to analyse the personality of someone. So when you get to the presentation, you know their values, what to say, what not to say. That's powerful. There are applications like NextGen, that if you work in a cross-cultural market where half your audience is speaking Mandarin, you can have your content within seconds transcribed and also sounding like you are actually very efficient at speaking that language. And I would probably say that the vendor reporting, which is needed because most owners need to actually start getting realistic about their price expectations. I think vendor reports, which are very used in Australia, which is a weekly written report that analyses the data from the portals and then actually finds articles that says, here are the reasons why your property might actually have to be realigned, and putting the vendor reports through AI, they're very useful. They're, to me, the main things. Obviously, creating your advertisements.
Yeah.
AI can do advertisements really good. Obviously, if you're stuck sometimes legally, what does this mean? There's great AI platforms that act like a solicitor. But for me, the biggest mistake, Simon, is real estate agents stop using this talking to people because they think that AI is going to make them the top agent in the UK.
Yeah. On the phone side of things, two in one here. So I think there's plenty on social media now where it's seeing AI content and is like blocking it from actually getting further. Hence why when you're talking over the past couple of weeks around the organic, authentic content you're recording that does so well because it stands out so much because everything else people are like, well, that's AI, that's AI, that's AI. And one of the things I said on stage yesterday, if I was to start an estate agency tomorrow, I've got people in this phone who already know, like, and trust me. Why would I be going around trying to do business with people I don't know when I can send a WhatsApp broadcast list to 256 people and get business from that? And I've had agents all over the UK implement that strategy and win business off it.
So, Simon, it's a wonderful recommendation, by the way, and I heard you talk about that in your great presentation yesterday in Birmingham. And I will say this, people underestimate the mobile phone as a trusted database. Most people have got hundreds, some people have got thousands of names. These people have received text from you. These people are people that you've had belly-to-belly, voice-to-voice conversations with. These are people that you played football with. Yeah. These are people that you went to school with. They already like and trust you. Often just opening up your phone and ringing up people and saying, hey, it's Tom Panos here from the real estate. Firstly, I want to apologise. I should have been in touch earlier. Secondly, how's this changing market impacted your plans? That could be a simple step people could do today to reconnect with their client base.
Yeah, such powerful words you use there. And I think you made me think of a saying, relationships will transcend all market conditions. Right? You've seen the rise of the internet, you've then seen AI, you've seen so many different markets, but which agents have performed the best over your decades in the market? They want to continuously maintain those relationships. I think there's a saying, I don't know who came up with this, transactions don't compound, relationships do.
Oh, that's another beautiful sentence. That's one I'm going to plagiarise as well because, Simon, we've got to accept that, look, it doesn't matter what's going on in the world, and it doesn't matter whether it's a buyer's market, a seller's market, whether this new shiny object has got everyone's attention. At the end of the day, we've got people that are getting divorced. We've got people that want a bigger house. We've got people that want a smaller house. We've got people that want to actually leave one suburb and go live in the countryside. And then we've got people that have gone to the countryside, Zoom life's not working for them, and they want to come back into the city. We've got people that want to go live in another country. At the end of the day, I've got good news for everyone. It doesn't matter what the market's doing, what's going out in the world. I'm letting you know that the majority of the people that transact in real estate are transacting because of a lifestyle purpose. So if you're a good estate agent, it doesn't matter what's going on, good, bad market. If you're a deal maker and you're a good estate agent, you're always making money.
100%. So over the last 50 years in the UK, we've averaged about 1.2 million transactions. So give or take, it's about 5% of your marketplace moves every year. I don't know how that would compare to Australia. Yeah. So it's like, okay, so if there's 100 houses on this estate, I know 5 in these 100 are going to move in the next 12 months, law of averages. So I say to a lot of the agents, okay, so we know how many properties sell in your marketplace each year. So we just reverse engineer it. Right, well, we know it's going to be 100 transactions. What's your average fee? Okay, how many doors do we need to knock, letters do we need to send, videos produce, social media posts, etc. Like 50 years of data has told you, we know there's going to be 5% of people transact. When it was a recession, I think it went down to like 700,000. So we know when the market is absolutely screwed, still going to get 750,000 people in this country when the world was ending. People still moved. And then when we had the boom market with COVID, where money was just being chucked at people and people went, I don't want to be in London anymore, I'll go out to the countryside, like you said, I think we went up to maybe a 1.4 million mark. So you know that when times are really, really good, you're maybe going to get a few 100,000 more transactions. When times are not great, it goes down by a few 100,000. But over a 50-year average, like it's there in black and white.
Okay, so you've just nailed something that everyone that's watching this should become totally focused on. If 5% of people are selling get yourself a database of 1,000 people. Mathematics doesn't lie. 5% of 1,000 is those 50 are transacting on the law of averages.
Yeah.
So what you're doing, and you spoke about it in your presentation yesterday, you're just not focusing on the 5%. Because if you focus on the 5%, you've got a strategy which is the catch and kill strategy. You're trying to get what everyone else is getting. Now, because everyone is fighting over the same stuff, what actually happens is your fee comes down. What smart people do is they play the long game. They get a tribe that's got their vibe. Let's call it 1,000 people. You might turn around and say to yourself, no, man, I'm hungrier than that. I want 2,000 people, right? Or you might turn around and say, I want 5,000 people. But let's just use 1,000 because mathematics will be easier. 5% of 1,000 is 50 transactions. You know every year that 50 of those people are transacting. That doesn't include the uncle, the neighbour, the stuff that just listed. This is repeatable, predictable business, like a subscription-based business. It's money that's coming in, right? And all you've got to do is begin to realise my job is to get a tribe that's got my vibe and to become their agent before they need an agent. So when they need an agent, they've got an agent. That's your formula for success.
I love that. I've never thought of it in the way you said it. It's like a delayed subscription service where the aunt, the uncle, the cousin, the brother, the sister, you're going to get business from them, but it might be in 5-10 years. So rather than it being £30 a month, you're getting that £5,000 a month in 10 years.
So I want you to know, I look at my whole life as a subscription business, right? I look at my life and I'll sit there with a client and I'll say to them, listen, probably I wouldn't make that decision right now. And they'll say, but Tom, I'm surprised you'll benefit out of me making that decision. I'll say, I'm still benefiting, but I'll benefit at a later time.
Love that.
Because the right time for you is not now. And let me tell you, clients love that. They hate commission breath. They hate being bullied and ambushed and all that. Oh, no, do it now. You'll regret it if you don't. No, man. Don't get me wrong. If I believe that, I will say that. I'll say to them, hey, listen, it's your money, and I'm only recommending to you what I do myself. How would you feel in 2 months' time if you're getting 10% less? How would that make you feel? If I think it's right for them, I'll use influence. And I think influence is really important because a con man and a good person, the only difference is their intent. They both use influence, right?
Yeah, very interesting. You've in terms of the relationships and subscription, something I say to a lot of agents is that if they're in that, what am I going to try and say here, transactional mindset. Let's say I come to see you and 30 minutes go by and you go, Simon, thank you so much for being really helpful. We're not moving. You know, most agents, okay, waste of time, see you later, I'm out the door. Whereas I'm saying to them, well, if you just said to me, thank you, Tom, could you do me a small favour? And there's two answers to that, yes, or depends what it is. Would you be kind enough to scan this QR code and leave me a review on Google? And because you've said yes, you've said that I've been helpful, you're going to do that. Secondly, Tom, who's one other person you know right now that needs help moving home in 2026? Can you introduce me?
Absolutely beautiful.
And then the last one you're going to love, right, is Tom. I'm curious, who do you think will be the next person on your street to move home?
And what's powerful about that is the way you phrased the question, not do you know anyone, who.
Yeah.
Essentially, you're forcing them to, from a cognitive level, to actually think, not to automatically just say, oh, no, I don't know no one. So, and 100%. I mean, I like that concept. And I've got to tell you, if you're not dealing with someone and doing business with them then, but you're playing the long game along the lines of this subscription metaphor that we're talking about, you should also make it your business, because in real estate, we've got this obsession, put them in the database, the CRM system. I get that, and it's important. But social media is a CRM system, right?
Yeah.
So one thing you've got to do is when you leave that house, say, listen, let's connect on social, because that jab, every time you post, that they see that story, that post is another touch point, and frequency is building trust. You want to enable all trust things as much as you can.
On that social media side of things, and you kind of got, like you say, a two-way CRM there. You know, one of the first things I'm taught when I'm an estate agent, wet behind the ears, young, naive, 16 years old, couldn't grow a beard, my suit was too big, I looked like I should still be in school. But I was taught when someone walks through the door of your high street office, which wouldn't happen as much these days, you stand up, you walk in front of the desk, hello, I'm Simon, how can I help you today? Something along those lines. Yet today, in the world we live in, your digital version of that high street shop is social media.
Yeah.
So if an estate agent follows me on social media right now, I should be messaging him saying, hey, Tom, thank you so much for following me. Can I ask what's brought you to my page? Are you looking for, help growing your estate agency business, or are you just out here curious to see what's going on? Like, it's a digital version of that high street, right?
Absolutely. It is the equivalent of, like, we've got to accept it. In the old days, and I don't know what the culture is like in the UK, but in the summer months in Australia, we have a lot of barbecues.
We have terrible barbecues with a lot of rain.
You have terrible barbecues, or let's call it a dinner party, or let's call it a drinks at the pub, because you do plenty of that here. But during those conversations, often people would say, how'd the sale of your place go? And they turn around and say, oh, mate, it was really good. You know, we gave it to Simon. It was all right. He was a decent fella. In 2026, that conversation is not done at a dinner table. That conversation is done on social media, and it's recommendation on steroids.
Yeah.
And it's not one person at the dinner table. It's maybe 1,383 friends that hear of it, which is another reason why I totally encourage estate agents to do a Insta Live with a vendor once they've sold, even if it's a 2-3 minute conversation where I interview you as a vendor and I say, what was the experience like dealing with us, and what was the most stressful thing, and were you happy with the result? And you make sure that it's a positive conversation, and they wouldn't be on there if it wasn't positive. But the value is, Simon, when your vendor jumps on live, all their friends and family are notified that you're on live, and all of a sudden you're in the frame, the estate agent meeting their friends and family. It's all about breaking into new communities.
So I'm going to play devil's advocate here on what you said there. And we talked about the difference between fixed mindset and growth mindset when we're on the train over here. I'm going, but Tom, like, my clients don't want to be on camera. I'm never going to get them to go on a live and say what an amazing job I did. What would you say to an estate agent saying that?
Some people, that would be the case. Most people, if they're happy, and most importantly, the timing of the request.
Okay.
If you actually ask it 2 months after there's been an offer and acceptance, emotions have gone down.
Yeah.
They're looking at their new home they're buying. They're getting ready to pack or whatever. Life is different. But if I had just had an offer and acceptance, sold by goes up, and you're happy, the timing is critical, right? So I can tell you that often I have estate agents that say, Tom, my vendors wouldn't do it. I say, you're probably right. If they're not happy with the service that you did, and that you're asking them way after their emotional levels were at their highest. But if your client is happy and the timing of the request is there, you've got a more than a 50% chance of getting them to come on, especially if you just say, I'm just going to ask you one question, because I have a lot of prospective clients who often get confused that it's going to be a very stressful experience, just your version of how it went, you know?
Yeah, love that. You've taken me back to something you said earlier at the presentation you're doing, what gets scheduled gets done, because how many agents wouldn't write that down? So I'm just thinking of like a playbook or a manual and going, okay, so when we know that we've handed the keys over and they're really happy and they're buzzing, right, is it in the manual that when you've handed the keys, you're then going to make that request? Because if you haven't written it down, and then in 2 months you go, never forgot to ask them that. And then you ring them, it's like, I've kind of moved on with my life now, like you said.
Yeah, so what gets scheduled gets done is probably the single one-liner that no matter I'm talking to a big group of agents or a small workshop like this morning with Keller Williams, or even when I'm speaking at ARIC to thousands, what gets scheduled gets done always comes up. And the reason why is if you schedule your prospecting, it gets done. If you schedule your vendor meeting, it gets done. If you schedule your sales meeting, it gets done. If you schedule a viewing, it gets done. The number one hair salon in the world said that their simple strategy that helped them become the highest income producing salon is that no customer leaves the salon without the next appointment being scheduled.
Yeah.
It's again subscription-based business.
So again, someone comes in and what we say with the 19th of June, comes in, collects the keys. Mr. Panos, I've got it in the diary for 19th of June 2027, but we're going to be coming out to see you to see how everything's going.
Correct. And everyone should incorporate that strategy that you just mentioned, which is when you sell a property at settlement, you show up and you let that client know, I'm letting you know, you've been a buyer while I've been working with you. Congratulations. You have now entered my VIP club.
Yeah.
You are a very important person. And as a very important person, you're getting a 1-year health update on your asset. What gets scheduled gets done. Let's put it in the system. Think about that as a strategy. 50 sales a year, year one, 50 appraisals the next year. Year two, another 50. That layers on the other 50. You've got 100. By year 5, we're talking 50, 100, 150, 200, 250.
Yeah.
You wake up on January the 1st and you know you've got 250 appraisals. I know they're not selling right there and then. They're probably price updates, but they're relationship appointments. And during these meetings, they say to you, Simon, do you handle Surrey? My sister's getting divorced.
Yeah.
Right? That's what happens when you're eyeball to eyeball with your past clients. The secret, my friends, is to create raving fans and not have to wake up on January 1 every year looking for another 1,000 clients. Get a client and make them a client for life.
Love that. You've reminded me, I'm sure I've heard it numerous times over the years on $1 Million Agent, where you'd say something along the lines of, Christmas dinner will taste a lot better when you know you've got those appointments in the diary for next year.
We have a saying at Christmas, when you leave on the 23rd of December, you park your car on the top of the hill.
Yeah.
So when you come back, middle of January, you let go of the handbrake and you're flying with momentum. And that's how you build an effortless, lucrative, fun life. You're always thinking ahead. You're always thinking about that 30-day rule. What I do in this 30 days affects the next 90 days. You're planning ahead.
Love that. Right, I should better get back to my questions I'm supposed to be asking.
Absolutely.
We've only done one, but the conversation is flowing. So, right, second question. What's one practical thing UK agents can learn from Australian agents that would help move their business forward?
The pilot doesn't serve drinks on the plane. Real estate agents in Australia have worked out that the highest and best use of an estate agent is to list, sell, negotiate, build their personal brand, work buyers, deal making. They're the highest dollar value. In addition to that, an estate agent still needs to do their marketing, their administration, cleaning out their database, all these other things that are often £15 an hour jobs, right? When I get on an aeroplane to go to my next destination, there'll be a pilot and there'll be the crew, the flight attendants. And when they start serving coffee, tea, Coke Zero, what will happen is the pilot does not leave the cockpit. The pilot keeps flying the plane. And the real estate agent must continue prospecting, must continue listing, must continue servicing their current vendors, must continue putting deals together. They can't leave that to sit in front of their computer, spending hours doing database work that others can do. So I say probably the ability to delegate and to actually employ often a remote professional, virtual assistants at a fraction of the cost that what you'd pay onshore. So I think Aussie agents have built a model that helps them being efficient to do business at scale. The second thing is they probably have been a lot better at understanding brand building, building a personal brand. As we move into an environment where calls are being screened a lot more, Simon.
Yeah.
You know that you ring someone, it says, what's your name and what's the purpose of the call?
I nearly didn't answer your call when you rang me.
Wow. Well, there you go. I mean, I have real estate agents that sometimes have difficulty calling their own vendors to give them news and offers because of the call screening. Think about it. This is a client you've already been dealing with and it's getting intercepted. So I think if you're in the UK, you better accept that both AI, which is allowing a client to now go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini and say, I want to sell my house in Mayfair, who are the agents I should call out? Right? You need to accept that that's happening. You need to accept that your calls are being screened, and you need to accept that the single one thing that is the best business strategy, the safest strategy, the insurance policy of your real estate career is to build a personal brand, because it's not who you know, it's who knows you. And what you've got to do is understand that you've got to become a magnet that gets people to come to you. And Aussie and New Zealand agents have learnt that you've got to build a personal brand. And the way that you do it, and brand, by the way, is what people say about you when you're not in your room, in the room. That's what brand is. And the way that they build it is through video, through social, through immersing themselves in the communities, through banners, through sponsorships. There's lots of ways. I think that Aussie agents do that a lot better than the agents here.
Best known beats best.
Correct.
So in terms of the people you surround yourself, like friends, people you go into business with, clients you work with, what are the 3 non-negotiables of those people?
So, number one, if they're a person that sees life as being scarce, if they're a person that sees life as being evil, if they're a person that looks at life as things might go wrong, I don't, Simon, say I say to them, I don't want to have nothing to do with you, but I lean away, right? Because I don't think it's helpful.
Yeah.
So they're the first. The second is anyone that I've caught lying, right? Because they could have spent 10 years building a relationship, but a lie gets rid of those 10 years. Because it says to me, if they lied about that, what else have they lied about? So that would be the second thing. And I like dealing with nice people. You're a nice person.
You said, yeah.
You're a nice person. Like, you're not hard and, you know, making things difficult, right? You know, you like, so I don't like people that you have a conversation with them and then you actually walk away and you think, I feel less. I feel like there's been a diminishing of energy. So I normally lean into more people that are illuminators, that are energizers, that when you finish the conversation, you actually feel better, right?
Yeah. Are you a drain or a radiator?
I like that, yeah.
Bringing energy to it, or are you sucking energy? We'd say mood hoovers. Like there's, you know, it's like you get someone walk into the office.
Yeah.
Morning. And he's like, oh, great, that's a mood hoover. It's going to bring everyone down. And there's I don't know if I've said this before, there's a brilliant quote from Alex Hormozy. And I heard it a few months ago. It's really, really stuck with me. And the quote was, if you can wake up in a bad mood for no reason, you can wake up in a good mood for no reason.
Okay, I like that. Because I think mood is a choice. It's a button, right? And even when you wake up and you had a fight the night before and it's raining and you look at your diary and your first appointment is with someone that it's not going to go well. Even with all of that, I accept that it might not be the perfect morning to wake up. But I think that things could always be worse.
So this is a question I wanted to ask you, considering everything you've gone through in your life, and I'm really hope I say the question right. If you were to write down your biggest problem on a piece of paper and you put it into a hat,
Yeah.
along with all the billions of other people in the world who put their problems in the hat,
Yeah.
would you put your biggest problem in and then take someone else's problem out, or would you go, do you know what, I'll stick with my problem?
That is a top question. I can live with my own biggest problem because I've lived with it.
Yeah.
I've experienced it and I know it's doable. But I'm not quite sure if the one I pulled out is something I could handle. I'm not quite sure. I don't know. I can handle cancer. I can handle having another relapse. I don't know if I could handle one of my child dying. I don't know. I don't know if I could handle a suicide of a family member. I don't know. So I'm happy to take what I've got.
It really reframes it, doesn't it? I only
That's
heard
beautiful.
that recently, and I was like, yeah, next time I'm thinking, oh, I've got a shit problem. Would I would I play roulette and put my problem in the hat?
I
and
mean,
go,
you're going to think I'm crazy and corny, but I have a strategy that gets me from stuck to unstuck, gets me from sad to reasonably okay, not necessarily exhilarated, but gets me moving forward. And that is when the shit's gone down, when something's not going right, I hop into my car, I press RPA chemotherapy ward, I go there, I walk in casually for 1 minute, I speak to no one, and I get perspective because I've sat in that room and I've sat there and I've looked out the window where normal, healthy people are walking outside, and I've sat there, prayed to God, saying, God, if you save me from dying and get me out of this place healthy, I promise I won't complain, I won't whinge, I won't sweat the small stuff. And when I start sweating the small stuff, I automatically drive back to the chemo ward because it reminds me of the commitment I made at that time. And nearly every time I've walked back with a new lease of energy, thinking it could be worse. I just saw a 35-year-old young female wearing a wig. She's got jaundice. She's about 30 kilos. And to me, it's not looking good. And when I walk out of there, I think, Tom, stop fucking complaining. It could be worse. Some other person has waken up this morning and they're going to have their last breath of life. So I focus on that. And that is something that everyone should. And that is to be grateful. Now, don't get me wrong. I know that a lot of people that are going to be listening to this are going to say, but Tommy, you don't get it. The UK life is hard. You don't understand how hard it is. Listen, it could be worse. You could be waking up today like a young girl has woken up with HIV in Ethiopia. Why should you have won the birth lottery and she hasn't? We've got to be mindful and cognizant of that, Simon.
Yeah. I was literally, just before you said the words birth lottery, that's exactly what was going through my head. I say to myself constantly, remember how lucky you are that you've won the birth lottery. I'm a white man born in England. Like, don't get much luckier than that.
100%. And we've got to accept that. I mean, there's someone this morning that's waking up and seeing missiles either landing or being intercepted above them. There's someone waking up this morning that actually is sitting there looking at photos of their kid that's committed suicide, right? I mean, these are things that I've been impacted. I mean, I've had Matt Steinway's a very close friend of mine. I've known him for 35 years and he's a client of mine. We're very close. In fact, when I got sick, you know, Simon, the first person that showed up in my life was Matt Steinway that said, Tom, I'm taking over the real estate gym. You're going to get better and I don't want any money for it. That was Matt Steinway, right? And you obviously know Simon because you've had him as a guest. He's lost his son, right? Through one of the incidents that we've just been speaking I talk to people in real estate, but I also know, like I did this morning, we were talking to Keller Williams. We were there together. You know, they might be smiling, but I also know that someone is living a quiet life of private desperation sometimes. I understand that.
Yeah, the saying that comes to mind there is, in a world where you can be anything, always be kind. You never know what people are going through.
It's free. I mean, Simon, I mean, the last time I remember that this impacted to me about stopping someone was I was walking through a shopping centre, like a Costco. In Australia, we call it Woolies.
Yeah.
And I had a trolley.
Yeah.
And I'm walking through on a Tuesday night, I remember it, and there's a lady wearing a business outfit and she's walking towards me with her trolley and she just breaks down crying. She was crying uncontrollably as she's going through on an aisle, not many people on the aisle. And I just thought, do I say something here? And I said, excuse me, are you okay? And she stops crying for one instant and she goes, no, I'm not, but thank you for asking. And started crying again and walked away. So, like, it's free to be nice.
Yeah.
You know?
Right. Coming towards the end now. Let's try and get one more estate agency question to you.
Because I know all they want to do make money here, isn't it?
I don't know about that. It's funny you say that because I go through this. I have a real split in terms of being a capitalist who's like, I want to grow a really big business and be really, really successful from a financial point of view. And then some days I wake up very stoic and I read the Daily Stoic and stuff by Ryan Holiday and I go, do you know what? As long as I'm healthy, you know, my family are all healthy, I've got a roof over my head, I can walk my dogs each day and play a bit of golf, I'm doing all right.
Listen, I actually put a post up today. I'm torn between two truths as well. The truth of understanding that there's a cohort of people that need help and support and life is hard, but I'm also got another truth, and that is we've got to be a progressive, innovative, aggressive person, because if you're not, there won't be growth and there won't be profits. And if there's no profits, you can't actually afford to help and support that cohort of people. So I totally get the concept of 1 minute, I'm going to change the world. Yeah. The next minute, man, be happy.
Have you ever heard the parable of a Mexican fisherman?
No, I haven't.
Right, I have to tell you this quickly.
Okay.
I'm going to get it so bad, but go with me. You'll read up on this and you'll tell it beautifully. So I first heard Sahil Bloom, the author of The 5 Types of Wealth, speak about it. And long story short, he basically, let's say, is an investment banker in America and he's holidaying in Mexico. And he goes past this sort of sleepy Mexican man in a fishing village. And he's got some fish in a bucket, and the American investment bank goes, "Oh, caught some fish, have you?" He went, "Yeah, I've caught some fish." Amazing. How long did that take you? The afternoon. Oh, brilliant. And what's your plan for the rest of the day? Oh, go home, cook some dinner, spend time with my loved ones, go into the town and have a glass of wine, have a sing-song, have a dance, and then I'll go home. Oh, okay, nice. And what about tomorrow? I'll do it all over again. Investment banker goes, well, you're pretty good at this fishing stuff. Couldn't you, you could fish a lot more and then you could have a stall and you could sell them and make money?
Yeah.
Why would I do that? The fisherman says. He says, well, so then you could get a really big shop and you can employ loads of people and you make even more money. Again, the fisherman says, well, why would I do that? Because then you could go to America and you could go on the stock exchange and you could sell for billions of pounds. And again, the fisherman goes, why would I do that? And he says, well, then you could retire and be free and do anything you want. What would you do? I think I'd just fish.
Listen, that is absolutely gold. Absolutely gold. And it actually says to me what we've always known, and that is that chances are you've got everything that you want in your life right now.
Yeah.
And you don't know it.
Yeah.
But you're sitting there thinking to yourself, if this happens, I'll be happy. Listen, in Byron Bay, when I'm staying at my house in Byron Bay, which is a beachside area in Australia that I stay at, I've got a guy that lives a few doors up who's a surfer, right? He wakes up and he lives that same life there. And he just says to me, Tommy, wind's right direction, sun's out, guns out, it's going to be a cracker of a day. Yeah. He has created a set of happiness expectations to be achievable without not too much money, right? Turns out, and I covered it yesterday when we were talking in Birmingham, Turns out the research of people thinking that they've got to, be a billionaire to be happy. Nah, man. Just above the poverty line means that you're going to be able to have the food that you can eat, sleep in only one bed that you can have the people around you that matter. That's not a money thing. So if you think to yourself, I'm going to end up becoming happy when I start making £1 million in real estate, let me tell you, if you're not happy now, you won't be happy then.
So to try and give you quickly a real life example of that, I've heard it called the hedonic treadmill. And there's a story of someone's sold their company for proper fuck you money, like millions and billions of pounds, and he's on his private yacht. He pops open the champagne and he's like pouring a glass of champagne to his friend and all their friends and family there. He's like, I've made it, I'm on this yacht. And the friend takes the champagne and goes, thanks, Tom. God, that yacht's a lot bigger next door to yours, isn't it? And he's like, fuck. Now I need to get back on that hedonic treadmill. I need to go again, build a business. And when I came, this is a funny story I've not told, I wanted to tell this on stage yesterday, I forgot to. When I came off stage last year at Sean's event, and I was driving home, and I'd opened up, and you'd been the headline speaker, and I drove home, felt like $1 million. Like, music full blast, window down, sun's out, guns out. I was loving life. I was like, this is absolutely unbelievable. But then part of me was like, how am I ever going to exceed that? How do I go again? Like I said to you about speaking at Wembley.
Yeah.
How do you go and speak on a big stage at Wembley? And what was really funny was I got home and I take my phone out to charge in my car and I look at it and it's Louise, my missus, saying, the dog's got diarrhea, wipe its ass when you get through the door. And I went, I've gone from being on stage for,
from hero to zero.
with Tom Panos, from here, and the heights of exhilaration to the depths of depression like that. And it just made me switch going, you got to enjoy the ride of getting there and not get too sucked up in the moment. Like it's really great getting to the top of the hill.
Look, I got to tell you, that beautiful story that you just said, the fisherman. So I have a view that you can have an impact and make an income, and that whilst money won't get rid of your problems, it'll help get to your problems with style.
Yeah.
And that you shouldn't have this aversion to say that, oh, I've chosen that I won't participate in working hard because I want to be happy. Why does it have to be binary? Like, why can't you have both, right? So I've often have people, I've been married for 35 years, 36 years, I've got 2 kids, and a lot of people say to me, but Tom, I don't want to work that hard because I want to keep my marriage. Well, I work hard and I've kept my marriage. It doesn't have to be binary. You probably have to make some compromises, and those compromises are, hey, you know what, I won't sit on TikTok for 2 hours a day, or I won't go out having pints of beer during the week, or whatever it is. You can have it. I think it's important that people don't turn around and say, oh, if I do that, I can't have that. Yeah, I think you shouldn't have self-limited thinking and have what you talked about, that great book by Martin Seligman, where he talked about fixed and growth mindsets. Learned Optimism is actually the name of the book. He was actually the architect of personal development and positive thinking in the 60s. He was a Canadian professor. He was the first person that really actually studied and identified you can change the trajectory of your life by the way that you think. Like, back in the old days, a lot of the people used to think, well, this is the family I was brought up in. I'm not born into royalty. This is my life. But we learnt in the 60s and 70s, you can change the trajectory of your life. You're not a tree. If you're not happy, you can damn move, know?
Love that. Right, coming towards the end now,
Yes.
I'm going to try something a bit new. So my girlfriend came home the other day with this little game of cards called Impossible Decisions, the little game of big choices.
Wow.
So I'm going to quickly run through 2 or 3 of these at random, if I can open it.
I'm getting uncomfortable.
So, would you rather be constantly gossiped about or never talked about at all?
Gossiped about.
Okay. Would you rather have nosy neighbours or noisy neighbours?
I want to buy one of these things, by the way. Where'd you get these?
I don't know. I'll send you a pack.
These are great. The answer is, listen, in Byron Bay, the house next door is an Airbnb, and we're there holidaying for 2 months all the time. When they drink alcohol, they're loud. When they come over and get stoned with marijuana, they're quiet. We sleep better when they're stoned. I pick the quiet.
Right, okay, do a couple more before the final question. Okay, this is a proper random one. Would you rather have a unicorn's horn or a mermaid's tail?
Indifferent, more towards a mermaid's tail.
Okay, right. Would you rather eat a tin of dog food or never be able to eat your favourite food again?
Never to be able to eat my favourite food again, because I've got to tell you, I'm not overly favourite with foods. I eat the same thing. Some protein, some vegetables. That's it. So if you turn around and say you can't have that, I'll go find another protein, but I'm not interested in eating any of the crap that dogs eat.
Right, final question for you. I'm pretty sure I would have done this when you came on the podcast over Zoom a year ago, but you had Stephen Bartlett speak at ARUC.
Correct. Not this year, last year.
Last year. And he does these things where they're called conversation cards. Do you remember this? I don't know if I would have done it.
I do, but I've forgotten.
So basically,
I do remember it. But
one of the things I really love about his podcast is at the end, he gets the guest to write a question for the next guest, not knowing who they are. And then the next guest comes on, they have to answer it.
Oh, right, correct. Then, yes, I've heard him say that.
And then Stephen has monetized it into these little things. So they have different levels to them. Level 1 is like quite chilled, like a mermaid unicorn question. And level 3 is quite deep. And we've got a level 3 here. It was answered by Boris Johnson.
Right. So can I confirm, what are we doing? You're giving me a question.
You're going to answer the question.
Okay.
Yeah, so I should have explained that. And it was asked by Trevor Noah.
I don't know who Trevor Noah is.
Trevor Noah is a brilliant South African comedian.
Okay.
Big Liverpool fan.
Okay.
As am I. We have a Greek Scouser, Kostas Simikas.
Wow.
He's known as the Greek Scouser.
What do you mean a scouter? Like
Scouser. People from Liverpool are Scousers.
Really?
Yeah.
It's funny we're having this conversation. I got a text message from someone this morning in Australia who said, could you please buy me a Liverpool jersey while you're there? And I replied back, they sell them in Australia, mate.
Fair enough. Right, the question I want you to answer, Tom, to end this fantastic conversation is, success often comes at a price. And one of those is the relationships we lose along the way. Which relationship or person did you lose in the pursuit of your success?
A lot of them, and I don't mind them. Okay. And I'll tell you why. Because, Simon, I need you to know, is if you're going down a path, and that path is your path, and that path is your soul, is your psychological fingerprint, and you've got people in your life who might be considered as friends, who don't understand that path and can't work with that path and actually maybe even judge that path, and means that you go distant ways, it's probably good for both parties. So to answer that question is, there's probably been people that couldn't see where I was heading and why, achieving certain goals mattered to me. And for some of these people, they got upset that Tommy's not drinking pints with us on a Tuesday, Wednesday. He's not one of the boys. So with relationships like that, sometimes you accept that they're expired, like milk and cheese and bread. They served a purpose one day, and there comes a day where the use by it says, best before, that date's gone.
Love that. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure having this conversation with you, Tom. This sounds so cringy. I can't believe I'm saying it out loud, but they say never meet your heroes. You've been a hero of mine throughout my stage career, and I owe so much to you for everything I've learned from you over the past dozen years. So it's been an absolute pleasure.
I'd love to do it again, whether it's one of the 2 or 3 times I'm in the UK or whether you want to jump on a Zoom. Yeah. I enjoy these conversations. So till next time, thank you.
Brilliant. And for everyone watching or listening at home, remember to like, review, subscribe, follow, share, and I'll see you next time.